My addiction came on slowly, thinking I was in control, saying I'll just cut once a year. One line, once a year, and I'd be in control. That was not the case. My brain told me I could not sleep if I didn't cut every night. Cutting meant that the nightmares would go away. Cutting meant that I could find peace and beauty. I was a cut junkie. My addiction took everything I loved and isolated me from it. It took over my body and left its mark anywhere it could. When you're covered in red lines, no one wants to be near you. You are visibly sick.
So I would say my mental health journey started probably around middle school, and then it got really bad through high school. And then after high school, I struggled quite a bit. I was showing signs of depression and anxiety, and I struggled a lot with self-harm for many, many years. But so far, I found a good community to help me, and I've been actively in recovery for quite a while now.
Sorry, I haven't talked about this in forever. I struggle with anxiety and depression. It started when I was young, for like the little simple things that when you don't realize like what was going on. Like in high school, I was very depressed, but I don't think I really realized what was happening. When I went to college, I ended up studying abroad in Peru, and that's when it hit really, really bad. I remember like laying on my couch one day watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine on a beautiful fall day. I'm just like, oh shit, like, oh, this is something's wrong. So I ended up seeing a therapist on my grad school campus, and then that's also when I started taking medication for the first time. The depression and anxiety are still kind of like constants. It becomes a challenge a lot. Like today, I'm struggling. I took a depression nap yesterday and depression nap today.
I first started experiencing some challenges with my mental health in my freshman year of high school. I was feeling really depressed and very, very anxious. I didn't understand what that was like. I just knew that I felt wrong, felt different. In my junior year of high school, that's when I really hit a peak of like really feeling hopeless, wanting to end my life, and eventually was put into therapy. I was initially diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and then further along in my treatment found out that I had a history of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So throughout the years of working through my journey of getting help, a lot of different types of treatment, a lot of types of medication, which eventually got me to a place of feeling at my best. And now it's been a long journey, but I still keep having to work on my mental health every day.
My wares. So the summer of 2014, I was bouncing around from inpatient to outpatient and really struggling with self-harm and keeping my hands busy. If my hands weren't busy, that was not good. It would lead to some type of self-harm or picking or something. So as long as I kept my hands busy, I was safe. And so I made friendship bracelets. Some of them were very easy and I could make within like 10 minutes. Some of them were more complicated. Some of them got very complicated, but were really, really cool to make. And I have so many that are just wearable, functional art.
I had danced for 15 years professionally through taking dance lessons, and a lot of my recovery journey was being able to do things like lyrical or contemporary dance using music to help me move through my personal challenges. I also really enjoy painting and beading, which is something that you wouldn't necessarily think would be like a mental health related thing, but being able to use creative ways of designing beaded material helps me feel like I've accomplished something with my mental health recovery.
I used to write a lot for a blog, and I used to write a lot. When something was happening in my life, I would just write. When I was in SIT grad school, a person started a group called like the Writing Nook, and it would just be people coming and reading what they wrote about like whatever was happening in their life. And the person really encouraged me to like start writing and sharing, and I started doing that, and that was kind of the first step that it was in my life to kind of use creative expression as a way of coping.
I wanted to share a piece of my story because I'm not the only one who struggles with this. This is just one journey. There are so many others out there, but by looking in one person's path, maybe you can feel less alone or understand just what it can be like for others a tiny bit more.
I'm a lifelong writer, both as a journalist and a writer and an editor. I've used writing my whole life to try to sort of figure out what's going on, both in my external world, but also in my internal world. I wanted to try to give back and come up with some ways to try to help people who are on their own mental health journey. And having seen what writing does for me, I met with Luis Perez at Mental Health Connecticut, and I talked to him about this program. And happily, they said, yes, we're interested in trying to develop that. So we took it from there.
My friend had emailed me about the Write On program, and I sat with it for a day or two, and then I decided to do it. It was something I could do just for me. I had always liked writing. I learned a lot on how to be more strong with my writing, to be more proud, to be more of an advocate. I learned to be more forceful language instead of a but this or and that or kind of. It was this, that, this is how it was.
So Write On has affected my writing and my recovery in many different ways. I was really nervous when I started going. I like talked down on myself a lot, right? So if I'm writing something about, I was like, oh, like I'm not a writer, like this isn't like a thing, like this isn't real. Or like if you're like, oh, I'm not an actual artist, I just like doodle sometimes, instead of just being like, no, like I'm a writer, like I write, I'm a writer, and like owning that.
On the hard days, I feel as if there's no point of even trying to get better anymore, but I try to remind myself of how I have been doing better lately. I realize that I have a lot of things going for me. I try to look at these things and remember them as much as I can, because sometimes taking a step back and looking at your journey is all you need.
When I went into the program, I was hoping that participants would come away with it sort of understanding how they could use writing in their daily lives as a release, as a way of sort of better understanding things, and also as a way of rewriting their own stories. I think people get caught up in sort of one particular story of their lives around certain issues, and that can hold them back. You can get stuck in this story of it's debilitating, it's a victimization, it's a way you cannot move forward ever outside this box. And I was hoping that people would take this writing and learn that they can rewrite their story, they can write that story in a different way and have more success. We actually had the class studied by the University of Hartford Center for Social Research, and one of the things that they came away from, which kind of blew my mind, I sort of knew it intuitively, but here we have sort of the data for it, was how taking this class helps people understand and feel better about themselves and lowers their own self-stigma.
I found that it was so nice to be in a group of people that like we all had different journeys, different paths, different mental illness, like different whatever, but like it was nice being with like-minded or like people who got it in this one little community. And I still talk to people today from there. The more you share and the more like I write, it's helped me so much. Kind of you come up with your own voice and you kind of like take ownership of whatever is going on in your life.
So I definitely feel like I've gained a voice through Write On.
I've always wanted to be art, and with the power of tattoos, I can and will replace the torn and scarred skin with professional art. The first time I reached 6 months sober, I got a butterfly tattoo between a birthmark and a scar, right where you place your fingers to check your pulse. I would never cut there again.
I was in a PHP support group setting through a clinical group, and I noticed, and even the psychologist said that I was kind of taking over the facilitating of the group more than actually being a participant. And that's when I knew that I would probably be better as a leader. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we provide education, advocacy, support groups, and we raise awareness about mental health, and all of our programs are no cost to the community. A lot of the types of groups that we run, at least with the young adult groups, we have an activity normally in mind. So we've done an activity called synesthesia, where we would play music and people would finger paint what they are hearing. We've done creative expression activities, creative writing, a lot of art-based things, and it's really interesting to see what everyone else comes up with, because it's different, even though the assignment might technically be the same.
When I was in the hospital, the group that got the most people out of their rooms was the games and the crafts and the creativity. When I was in IOPs, it was always a good group when we were making something. And now in support groups, when we are making something, I feel like it's easier sometimes to express yourself, not exactly with verbal words, but through art and colors and shapes. It's a lot less intimidating, I feel, to sit around a table and talk while coloring than it is to sit around in a circle staring at each other and talking. I love these groups. I have found a great sense of community and support with the young adult groups. They've encouraged me to continue to be creative. I encourage them to continue to be creative. I made an activity called Emotion Masks, where you draw the emotion you're feeling. So it's just a way to visualize what you've been feeling on the inside. At an adolescent IOP, I learned how to Zentangle. There's no up and down. There's no right way to do it. There's no such thing as a mistake. It is all beautiful and all really cool.
I don't even know how I started making collages. I used to go through old magazines that I had, and I just ripped out any picture that spoke to me in whatever way possible. And I had a big box, I still have it, of just magazine pictures. And then sometimes if there was a moment of something in my life and I didn't necessarily know how to express it verbally, I would make a collage using the pictures that I have, and it's all in this one book. And it was like every time like my mind got too much and I didn't know how to express it, I would make this collage.
The federal organization SAMHSA, they have what's called the 8 dimensions of wellness, and they believe that when you balance your 8 dimensions of wellness, you are focusing on ways towards recovery. And one of the ways of recovery in the wellness dimensions includes creativity. So being able to express yourself through art, music, writing, etc., are ways to help you understand yourself and help contribute to the world.
The data is there to sort of show how creative expression, whether it's music or it's art or it's writing, they all can sort of influence and impact the brain and sort of how it's structured as well, and help people who are having mental health issues in their recovery.
We know music can evoke emotions. We know that creative writing can help get the negative thoughts out. A lot of cognitive behavioral therapy uses a lot of writing, and dialectical behavioral therapy also uses a lot of challenging thoughts and being able to creatively get you through challenging times.
I've witnessed it firsthand and sort of watching students evolve from the first class where maybe they're writing a couple of sentences to the end, where ultimately they work on one piece that they are going to then perform. It's liberating and by having the power to say that story, but then you're almost also sort of letting go of some of that story too. You don't have to hold on to that.
Sharing my story has impacted me and my close people in my life and people I don't even know. For one, I know that it has affected my relationship with my family in a good way. My parents always knew that I struggled, but I don't think they really fully understood. And when I shared my story at Write On, and they came when everyone was sharing their stories, and then they started to read my writing more, I think they finally kind of understood and we're so much more open about it with others. And then I found out that people started talking to them more about their family struggles. So like sharing the story with people, like had people understand me more and like why I was doing certain things that I was doing. And then they were also more open to sharing with me. Like I remember friends are like, I just can't, like I have a bad anxiety today, I can't meet up. But like if they didn't know I struggled with that, they'd probably make up some different lie to like not go. So like you create like an open dialogue when you share your own story and whatever. I think it creates connections that you probably don't even know are there.
I definitely think by seeing people who have mental health conditions or other challenges show creativity and be able to produce films and talk about even topics like mental health, it will help reduce the stigma. As most people know, people living with mental health conditions are often the most creative and can use their own personal challenges to help move through it. So it helps keep people united knowing that they're not alone and that they also have opportunities in life too. If they are struggling, that they can still be creative and successful as well.
If other people expose themselves to art created by people with mental illness, I think they could get a better understanding that, you know, we are an entire person. We are not just one thing. We can make beautiful art. It can be just powerful for someone to open up their soul. I have this, which has all the words that are on my body in different places as a way for me to like not only remember what I did, but also kind of to take it off of me and put it somewhere else that it wouldn't fade.
The years of war I had raged against my skin was also against myself. I had been a terrible ally to my body, and I made a commitment to change that. Where I once wrote words with razors, now I'm writing and drawing new ones with ink. Still marking and changing my appearance to hopefully one day be able to look in the mirror and smile. Not at the red lines that trace and cross my figure, but at the healthy, beautiful body I am creating.